begin. My name is Sylvie Duvignac. I'm a certified life coach practitioner. I officially launched my business in November, that just passed. And then Christmas kicked in, and then, you know, the chaos of the beginning of the year, and Roxanne sat with me and she said, you know what, Sylvie, we got to get you going. This is something that's super important, and regardless if, as I said, a little bit of people or a lot of people, we got to start putting something out there so that people can come together and we can learn. So today, it seems formal, but if you need to get out to go to the washroom, go for it. If you want to go home because the subject does not, you know, pique any interest for you, go. This is as if we were sitting in a living room and I was individually sitting with each of you. Okay? I want this to be comfortable. It's not meant to be a formal affair. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be informative, and it's meant to be self-reflective and everything else that goes with the good side of things. So today what I want to go through is sort of give you a bit of a definition of what the law of attraction is. You could be sitting at home, Googling law of attraction, and you would get all the information right there. But to be sitting in front, or to be sitting somewhere and having somebody share some information, perspective, and experience about it, always gives it a different vibe to it. You know, you're going to learn something a different way than if you were just reading in your own little world. So I want to define it for you. I want to give you a little bit of an origin. It's not a historian or class of history, but I'll give you a little bit of information about that. How many of you have seen the movie The Secret? So does that mean that, or read the book? Okay, so most of you, or I would say at least half of you, are familiar with The Secret. This was released in 2006, so, you know, move forward to today. The minute that I saw The Secret, which was in 2006, I started studying more about it. Because, and we'll talk about it, you know, in more details in a few minutes, but The Secret really only touched the surface. But what was beautiful about it is that it went to the masses. It shook the world. What? You know, I can do things, I can think about things, I can make them become reality. So I celebrate that 100%. It created some visibility, it created some, you know, focus about this type of stuff. And then from there, I realized that it is so much more deep than what they taught us about it. So today is like the first step into really digging into what the law of attraction is. So we know about it, we will, you know, touch the surface of it, and then as we move forward, what our plan is that every 30 days we're going to have something, at least the lecture side of things. We're going to see how everything else that we presented here today, it resonates with you. If it doesn't, we're moving on. The purpose here was always to have some information shared with the public at a really low cost, and that would make them give them the opportunity to have a continuation in their evolution or their reflective journey. So a little bit about The Secret, and then the importance of self-awareness, and then understanding the concept of resistance. Because when we're creating things in our life, there's that resistance that is also created by ourselves. So I'm going to touch upon it a little bit. And then, why is it important to even be self-aware about, you know, all that stuff? You know, as you can see, there's only a few of you here, and there's a masses out there that did not come today. The subject is of interest, but it's not necessarily ingrained in people's mind yet. But if you would do something that was, you know, about the physical side of things, you know, working out and all that stuff, you know, people already know about this. You know, they go work out every day of the week. But what do they do mentally, you know, to work out the mind? Once a year, you know, a little something, or a self-reflection, a couple minutes, here and there. So we've got to get more into that kind of lifestyle where we're not just taking care of our bodies physically, but we also take care of our minds so that we can, you know, create better experiences for ourselves. And then, you know, to make it more in a formal way, I sort of created steps. Steps means like school a little bit, where you're going to jot it down. And if the steps are not, you know, working for you, what I urge you to do today is to pick what works for you. If it's one sentence out of everything I say, great, lead with that. If there's stuff that you hear today that says, I really like, you know, the way that she's explained that, or I don't think that's true, really, leave it. Don't take any of your energy to focus on the things that you don't believe is true for you. Just focus on the things that you believe will help you progress. And then the rest, not important. So what is the law of attraction? Basically it says like attracts like. So if something's good, it'll attract something good. And if something's bad, it'll attract something bad. Is that enough for you? It's really just an explanation. But how can I apply this in the morning when I'm late to go to work, my kids are running around, I didn't make the lunch, I'm late for the bus, not gas in the car, all your real day-to-day life, like attracts like, it doesn't really help you. So what I'm trying to do with all these sessions is to try to make it more relatable. It's a big subject, there's a lot of information about it, and it's fun to hear for an hour, and then you leave and you're like, all right, where are we going? For dinner, for this, and you forget about it. But if you find ways to explain it where it's something that you can relate to, you'll think about it when you get into that situation or that situation. And so they say that by the power of your thoughts and your feelings, you're the creator of your experiences. Now, how many of you believe that? Good. Now, by believing this, are you also believing that you are the creator of everything that's going wrong in your life? Right. And you can't have one without the other. You're not the type of person that can only create good and not the bad. Because the law of attraction, really, it's like learning to breathe. I think I'm going to learn about breathing today, and then next month when I come, I'm going to learn a little bit about it too. No, you breathe every day since you were born. Well, the law of attraction has been applying itself to you ever since you've been able to think. And probably beyond that, but that's another workshop, or that's another lecture. But just in theory, we think of it when it's going right, that, we're the creators of this. Got a new job, or, things are working well, I found a man, all of that stuff that we like. We also like to take the credit for that. But it's not just about taking the credit for it. It's just about realizing that somewhere in the way that you think, you also created all the little things that are not as easy to believe to be true about what's not going so well for you. So slowly we're going to peel the layers of this. A little bit today, and then a little bit every month as we try to grasp the whole concept of this so we can actually live it and create it. As much good as possible, and improvement. So I sort of researched a little bit to how did the law of attraction come to be a topic of conversation, basically is what I'm saying, because it always existed. But so you can see that thousands and thousands of years ago, scientists and philosophers, and they were looking into it and trying to explain it. And still today, if you ask anyone, it has not been scientifically proven. So if you want to wait for proof, you can wait a long time, because we've been doing this for a long time. Or you can use your life and your experiences as proof that what you think and feel makes things happen. But in order to do that, you have to be aware. What was I thinking when I was doing this? Or how did I feel when I was doing that? So the self-awareness part starts there. You have to start looking at your life in a different, sort of in a different angle. Not just as the being that's walking and that's doing things, but as the being that's creating. What was I thinking? How was I feeling in that moment? And it happens with the smallest little things. I'll tell you a story about my daughter. My daughter is 5 years old, and we'll come, I'll be in the car and I'm picking them up at 5 to go home and prepare dinner. You know how it is. There's a lot of stuff to do. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. And as I'm in the car, I'm already telling myself, oh my God, I gotta do the bags of groceries. They have their snowsuits on, and then the bags of school, and I'm already complaining in the car. It's really very apparent. It's all going on in my mind. I'm going to pick them up, they're going to be tired, and I'm you take my boot, and then all the scenarios going on, and all you hear really in the car is this. Nothing nothing else going on. But all of this is going on. And so I pick them up. And guess what happens? And pick my boots off. And then one time my son was trying to get something, and then he went to a cabinet, and he was holding himself like this, feet up in the air this high, and help me, mommy! All the chaos that I can imagine in my head was delivered to me. Because that's what I wanted. And we use the word want. Of course I didn't want that. But that's what my feeling was. But being conscious of how it works, I'll catch myself as I start thinking about all this little stuff that's going on before I get home. And then I'll change it. But the thing is, my daughter has the same power at 5. She can also create chaos because she thinks about stuff too. But she's only 5. And so there's that space between her and I where she's tired and she wants to go there, you know? And I have the power to go there with her. And that's where there's that space where you can sometimes take somebody else's information into your own and you become that. And she's the perfect example because I look at her all the time. The smaller they are, the smarter they are about this. Because they're little creators. We just don't give them the space to become that. Now, I'm moving away from the subject, but just to show you that the history has been there for a long time, and it's not about proving it, it's just about being aware and starting to look at your life in a different way. I would say the person that put the most attention to the subject was Albert Einstein. He was not only a scientist, but he was a philosopher. So a lot of the things that he would talk about in science, he would relate back to something that was a little bit more non-tangible. Something that was like airy-fairy, if you want to say. But he was respected, and he was able to reach the masses, and still today, we can refer to some of the, I actually looked at old, real footage of him speaking, and it's amazing the way that he was talking about it. I said, why aren't people still grabbing this? I mean, you're looking at footage that's like, you know, before TVs and everything else, almost, it's just ancient. And still people are not picking this up. Like, is this crazy or what? So, you know, again, my passion is to help people to get some kind of awareness of it, so this is my part. I am no Albert Einstein, but I will teach you what I know. Or I will share with you what I know. Now, if you look at cultures, beyond what we know about the scientists of our, let's say, cultural, you know, historical background, or there's these old, ancient countries that have always known that there's something bigger than just a physical body. And they use that mainly for medicine. But the same energy and vibration that we have around us, I'll use the term around us, it can be used for just regular, normal stuff. You know, the most common, I would say, again, is the medicine side of things, but they also use it for, you know, relationships and creating in so many other ways. So there's what we call prana, and everything relates to life energy or physical energy or something bigger than you and greater than you. And we have India here, those are just a few examples. The Qi, which here we know as Tai Chi, but you know, it's been existing forever. In Japan, it's Ki, which here we know as Reiki. And then, you know, the Great Spirit, which are the, you know, the Native Americans have always known that there's something bigger than us that is creating. But what about the modern world? I will say North America, just because it is familiar for us. What has all our culture contributed to, you know, life energy? We take somebody else's, which is okay, and I don't mean it's somebody else's. It's out there, and it's been proven and used for centuries. So we tend to go and use that in our life for those that are in the wellness, you know, those that want to improve their wellness. But so it made me think to say, you know, what do we have that somebody else from another place could say, you know what, you know, there's something new out there. What kind of energy is it that we have? And the only thing that I could think of was ego energy. That's what we do. We want more. So there's the energy that you put out there, but we're like, give me more. I want money. want a big car. I asked someone the other day, how much money would it take for you to be happy? And that person said, $10 million. And I said, well, you'll never be happy. What is this? You know, and that's how we think. We think in terms of stuff and material things. And when we don't get them, or as we're trying to achieve, we got to put people down to get them. And we're moving forward, and I'm going to get it. I'm going to be happier then. I'm going to be happier, thinner, and sexier, and, you know, nothing in my face that's going to be stretched out. Whatever you want. You know, we're thinking in terms of our ego, basically. Now, there's a few of us, like today, that probably want something more than that. We live in a place where you kind of have to manage this energy that's around you, even though it might not be you, but it is around you. It's competitive. It's, you know, trying to, you know, go up the ladder of the corporate world, and whatever it is. You can translate this into so many ways. But it was the only thing that I could think of that we actually have, or put energy out there of, that would be ours. So how do we change that? As I said, years ago, The Secret came out, and it was something that was revolutionary. It educated people about the possibilities of creating something in your life that would be different. So I have a little clip here. You'll bear with me. I'm no techie, but I'll put it up there, and then it'll sort of give you a reminder of what it was. And it's not the movie itself. It's from Steve Harvey. I don't know if you know him, but he explains how he uses it in his life. So what they're saying is that you ask, you believe, and you receive. But there's a part of what they were teaching us that was missing, and it was the intensity of being aware of your emotions. Because when you think of just the fact that your thoughts could be creating something, how many thoughts do you have in a minute? How can you control these thoughts, really, to be focused on the creation of something? You might be able to be focused for like 10 minutes, and then you move on, and then there's like a million thoughts going through your head, and it might be contrary to what you're actually trying to create. But there is something that is non-changing when you think about a specific subject that you're trying to create, and that's your emotion. You're either going to be angry, or frustrated, or I'll name a few, or happy, or excited. So you can have a million thoughts about the same thing that is related to one specific emotion, and that will be your guidance, really. And so The Secret was focusing a lot on the fact that you were thinking stuff. But in the end, to me, it wasn't enough. I was reflecting and researching, and I said to myself, well, I can think of something really great to maybe get that $10 million, but I don't have the emotion that can attach to it. So if I need both, then it's not going to happen. But if I can only use the emotion of it to a certain extent, I might be able to sustain that emotion. Fixing the one. Perfect. So from that perspective, what happened was I started sort of moving the research that I was doing into the emotion. And it made me think of the fact that a lot of people call themselves, no, I'm not really emotional, right? Sometimes we've seen that in relationships. I'm not an emotional person. I'm not wired this way. Actually, it's the only way you're wired, because it is the basis of all your creation, the bad ones and the good ones. So you might not be romantic, but that has nothing to do with being emotional. You are emotional because it is those emotions that make you create something in your life. So if you have a light bulb moment at one point today, is just realize that you are an emotional person, and it doesn't mean that you're the person that starts crying for no reason or whatever it is, but you are creating through your emotions. That wasn't the video. You are creating through your emotions. I might start singing. You are creating with your emotions, so you know it's important to realize what they are. And the purpose today for me was just to help those that are willing to work on this, to focus on, if you have one goal today, it's just go on and start thinking about what kind of emotions you're having on a daily basis. So this sort of gives a good overview of how The Secret was presented to us back in 2006. And a lot of what is said in there is very true. But as the years have gone by, and as I said, in the last 7 or 8 years, I was able to really dig much deeper than the surface of what he says, like attracts like, right, these things happen. But then think and you'll have it in your hands. Well, you know what, I can think really skinny and it's just not coming, and I can see it on the fridge and it's still not coming. So it's not just about seeing it, because I can see it and it can create a lot of anxiety in me, 6 months have passed now, 2 pounds. So it's not just about seeing it, it's really about feeling it. And how can I get a good feeling when I look at myself like this, and if it's not what I want? So there's a lot more that has to be applied to the idea of the think it and it'll come to you. Same goes for money. I love seeing money. I can put money, dollar bills all over my fridge in my living room, and I see it. And then I sit down, I get a bill, I'm like, man, this is so expensive. You know what? I can't do this, or did you see that, or we can't afford this, or we can't go there. Well, there you go. What's the emotion around that beautiful display of money? It's a negative one. It's not going to happen. So it took me a long time to realize that it is not just about thinking. Thinking is the vision. That's what I want. And the idea that you can think something for yourself is probably because you had trouble somewhere. Because the trouble is called contrast. The trouble gives you the clarity of what it is that you want. Aha! You know what? All the stuff that happened to me since I had my kids, got it. See it now. So the vision is clear. So the thinking part, it's in the back. I know what I want. How can I create the emotions around it to actually be the creator is the work. So that's why I wanted to focus today specifically on one thing, and it's the emotion. If you leave here knowing that you have to track how you feel when you're in a specific situation, it'll help you to move to the next level afterwards. Instead of taking 7 or 8 years, you can do this year. Just moving forward, all the steps, everything will be laid out. Step number 1, become aware of your emotions. I think it's pretty clear. I think it's the most important part of the creative process. So your emotional guidance system. Emotions, you can feel them. You know when you're mad at your husband, sort of hits you somewhere around the neck, or you can figure this out for yourself. This is just a visual to tell you that you already know where it resides in you, when it's joy, when it's otherwise. So in the moment that you're too wired to even think about your emotions, your body will physically tell you what's going on. And happiness is very light-footed. You know you're happy. You don't have to figure out where it comes from. But when you're dealing with some negative emotions, sadness and depression and anxiety and all that stuff, if you can't make sense of it in your mind, then take a pause without thinking of anything. Sit down, take a couple of breaths, and then listen to your body. Your body's already telling you which emotion that you're having at this moment, or that's coming out of you. So, finding out, a little bit more about your emotion, or building your own emotional guidance is, yeah. So let's go through this. So, controlling your thoughts is something that's not really possible. And in the video that we just saw, one of the things that has evolved for me is knowing that a negative thought cannot be erased. It has to be replaced. Because it's hard to really just say, no, I'm not going to be mad. No, I'm mad. I'm mad right now. If you take a moment and you think of something that makes you laugh, as he was saying in the story of losing his mother, if you start thinking, my boyfriend left me and I'm really sad, but you know what? When I take a tea and I do my Q-text and I think of something else that makes me happy, it changes my emotion. So it doesn't take it away. You're still mad at the situation of what you're thinking of, but now you're going to replace it for happy or joyful or whatever you want. There's a long list. Sometimes it's just putting on the TV and watching America's Funniest Videos. I don't know. Just figure out what it is for you. When you're feeling anxious or depressed or sad or whatever it is, you're allowed that moment. But if you know that in the process of creation, it's going to put a resistance or a roadblock or something to it, then you've got to do the work to change it, to replace that emotion with something else. Happy. I think it says it all. Letting go of control. When we have a dream or when we have a goal, some of us, and I won't say that we're all like this, but some of us, we kind of plan it out. We know, I want to do this, I'm going to do this. And every time you put a line underneath how it's going to happen, you create expectation around it. Guess what's going to happen to that long list? Well, you might be lucky and get a few that are just perfectly aligned with what you expected. But a lot of it won't. So having a desire of something, what you have to do is say, I want this, it's going to come. And that's it. Then start being happy. Put on some Q-Tex, go dancing, watch a good movie, whatever it is. Keep the happy going. Not necessarily in regards to the actual goal that you have, but just keep the happy going. So one of the things that I did at one point is I thought to myself, because I was practicing different things. You start with small things, and then eventually you know that small or big has no difference in what you want. It's because when we ask for something bigger, we have no resistance. But if we ask for something small, you don't have as much resistance. So you're more likely to have something that you desire happen to you when there's no resistance around it. So one morning in the summer of 2014, I decided today I'm going to get $5 from someone. Man, possible? $5. So at the beginning, as I was driving into work, I was telling myself, well, who's going to give it to me? How's it know? You can't figure it out. It's not your job to know where it's going to come. You just ask for $5. That's it. That's what you got to do. The day goes by, and then I take a late lunch, and I start walking, take a little walk during lunch, and I end up at Chapters and going through books and different things and having fun. So I get to the cash, and the guy says, "You're going to buy this," and so he's talking to me about different things, and I'm just looking at him, and I'm just being very chatty, and then he goes, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to give you $5. It's a coupon for a book or something like that." It could have been 2 or 5 or 50% off or something else. I'm like, I love it. $5? Really? That's it? And so I was walking back to work and I was thinking, I think this might work. Because I asked for $5 and I actually got it today. It wasn't in the form of an actual $5, but you got to be grateful for these moments, these small realizations that when you're asking for something, it actually happens. Now there's a story. Who knows Esther Hicks? Okay, so she tells a story. I would say she's the guru of what is the law of attraction. There's a whole information I could give you about her, but just you can Google a little bit more about her work. Jerry and Esther Hicks. So Esther tells a story that they used to have, I guess, sessions with people one-on-one, and she had a client that was, asking to have her fortune told, but she was saying, I want you to create it. So she wasn't going to tell her, but the woman was getting frustrated, and she was saying, no, but I want you to tell me a little bit more, and she was saying no, but and she just couldn't get off the subject. So Esther told her, well, let's talk about something that's, a light subject, something that's easy to talk about. So she goes, let's talk about blue glass. And the lady goes, why do you want me to talk about blue glass? I don't care about blue glass. It's like, but look, that's kind of the point. I want you to talk about a subject that you have no resistance. Just let's talk about blue glass. There's this kind of glass and that kind of glass. And she goes on. The lady was like, you know what? I'm not interested in talking about that. So she goes, well, let's talk about butterflies. And the lady was, why don't we talk about butterflies? I'm not interested in butterflies. She goes, I know, but I'm trying then to get you to talk about a subject that you don't have any emotions about so that we can show you, that there's something interesting about these butterflies. She goes on and on. And the lady was getting madder, actually. So then she says, well, let's talk about feathers. The lady goes, you know what? I'm really not interested about those feathers. So she hangs up, and Esther hangs up the phone, and she says, well, this lady's going to ask for her money back because she really didn't get what she was asking for. So, and of course we're going to give it to her because we want her to have what she was asking for. So she goes to lunch with her husband, and they go, it's the same area, they live somewhere in the States, and she says she goes to this restaurant, and next to the restaurant there was this little shop, and she decided to pop into the shop, and her husband was, walking to the restaurant, and he was like, okay, let's go see what Esther's doing. So she said, come on. So she says she walks into the store and goes straight to the back of the store, and there's this massive wall of blue glass. And it doesn't click for her at the time. So they look at that, and they walk around the shop, and they get out of the shop, and they go for lunch. And then after the lunch, she tells the story. She goes, we went for a walk. And so we walk, she calls it the cove, so they started walking in the cove, and she said as they were walking a certain area, flutter, like a lot of butterflies started flying around them. And as she's telling the story, she said we had to close our mouth because there were so many of them. And still, she's not realizing, you know, that she just had this conversation about all these things. So she said the afternoon goes by, another hour goes by, and then this little boy starts running to her. And he's got something in his hand, and guess what it was? A feather. And when she grabbed the feather from the little boy, she realized that the universe had provided her everything that she had asked for something that she had absolutely no resistance on. And that's really how it works. But we have so much resistance built into so many things in our lives. And it starts at a young age when we get raised. You know, can't do this, do that, we break it down for them. But, you know, it's just something that as adults and as people that are wanting to be more self-aware, you can start letting go of that resistance about things that are applicable to you in your situation. And this was just a story that was like, yeah, it's true. I did it with the $5. It works. You know, $5 is one example, but I can tell you that, you know, my daughter, 2 months ago, she started packing for no reason to go to Walt Disney. Comes home, gets this old luggage from my niece, who's now 19, takes this out, and she starts packing her stuff in there, and the luggage is down, she's going to Disney World. Like, my husband and I are like, I don't know. Well, he goes like, stop talking to her about this, because ever since she did her luggage, I started asking her, where are you going? It was kind of cute, she was going to Disney. Who's going to go with you, you know? Well, move forward a few weeks in, I started thinking about it. Because I think to myself, could we go to Disney? Maybe I'll do a little bit of research and see if we can go to Disney. Well, guess where we're leaving Wednesday? We're going to Disneyland. And I thought to myself, this could be just a story about, you know what, she wanted to go there. But the truth is, she's just as big of a creator as I am. She has less resistance in her desires than I do. And of course, because I'm aware of all of this, I'm watching it. But if you watch your people around you, the little people, they are capable of creating things in their life that is unbelievable. The other little story that we had, and I didn't share this with my husband, but when we were going to get our passports to go to Walt Disney, because none of us have passports. Can you imagine all the work we've done in the last few weeks to be able to, to get this trip going? We were going to get our passports, and then my husband showed me a photo, and the photo is of a cat that a lady at her work wants to give away. Now, I love cats. And I was looking at it, and I'm like, oh, that's so cute. And then we're looking at it, it's like, it's way too hairy, like it's like a big ball of hair. And if we're going to get one, we're actually talking like this, just if we're going to get one, you know. I come home at night, and there's a note written in my daughter's agenda from the teacher. Melissa that day told the teacher that she has a new cat in her family. The same day, the same moment. It's just not possible. I'm thinking to myself, we don't talk about this. Why is she writing, why is she telling her whole class that, so the teacher writes to me, congratulations on the new addition in your family, you know, your little cat, a little kitten. Like, what kitten? Like, there is no kitten. But it just goes to show that when you start being more aware, you'll notice things and you'll perceive them in a different way. And this is all the power of the creation that I'm talking about. Again, if we apply this into the negative side of what we're living or what we're going through, it's harder. But it is the same power that's behind it. It's just harder to, you know, process. So letting go of control will help you, you know, get these obstacles out and be more in a mode of creation. So, as I said, how do you get rid of emotions? It's just you have to replace it. You can't really erase that. So, here I wrote control freak. Aren't we all a little bit, you know, especially, you know, mothers want to plan everything and get everything going. So, it's sometimes harder to let go of control in certain areas of your life. But in other areas, it's really easy. You know, if you want to do my cleaning in my house, go for it. You know, I don't mind. I'm not a control freak. If you want to clean my house, go ahead. So, how can I see the good in a bad situation, and how can I feel the happy in a sad situation? So recently, anybody watched the Super Bowl? Okay. Well, there you go. I only watched the last 5 minutes. I was busy. But there's some, you know, you all know what happened? The Seahawks lost the Super Bowl with a very bad play at the end, and it was like a big thing. And so I came across this interview with the coach, the Seahawks coach. And I want you to listen to everything that he says in there. And it is beautiful, let's just say. So when you look at the situation around what happened with the football, to me that's the side of the sport. But when you look at a coach like this, that can turn a situation like that with the whole world. I mean, we talk about the USA being on him for losing the Super Bowl, but he's positive about it, and he knows that everything that comes his way is meant to be, you know, a step into the direction where it's meant to be. He doesn't get influenced by all of the stories around him because he understands them. Of course they would be frustrated because they have their own way of thinking about the situation, but it doesn't affect how I think. So when you're looking at some of the situations on a smaller scale, you might be, you know, confronted by people at work, you might be having, you know, bad relationships, you might be going this and this and that. And you don't have to take the noise of other people. You just have to take your own, and you have to fix your own. So the way that he was presenting this to me was like the best part of the Super Bowl. For the sports fan, you know, those that won, I'm happy, but I really wanted to present this to you because it makes it not just spiritual things, and so there's real people out there that have, like, you know, sports is also very, to me, it's very manly, and it's, to be able to know that there's also on the sports side people that are reflecting in the same way, and that regardless of a situation, they're going to move forward with it and make the best of it, was very inspirational. So I really wanted to share this with you. Right, so that's kind of where I want to go with this, is that, you know, when you're there and the situation is being, you know, it is what it is, you still have a choice to go in that direction with your emotions or in that direction with your emotions, because you're always still creating the next thing for yourself. So if you go in that direction, likely a lot of the stuff you're going to create for yourself is going to come back as a negative thing, and you're going to say, it's because we lost the Super Bowl. No, he lost the Super Bowl and he's going to start creating some good stuff with it. Now, how is that possible? Because it's not about the situation. It's about how you feel about the situation that creates the next step for you. So think about that when you're dealing with something that might not be as easy. So he did say he cried, he had his emotions about it. You are allowed to deal with the emotions of a sad situation or anything else. That it's normal. We're humans, you know, we are humans. We're dealing with what I call the contrast of what the beautiful part of life is. But that's what fuels you to move forward into the direction of a creation that's more positive. So acceptance is also very important. So I put that in there, developing a positive ritual, because in certain situations when you get caught in that negative ball of fire, you have to teach yourself to step away for a second and forgive yourself. You don't have to keep moving on. And I think about this in terms of sometimes when I deal with my children. I'll get caught up and you say something and you're like, you get into a fight with them and you're like, then you feel so guilty. Oh my God, it wasn't that bad. So what, she ate some Nutella for dinner. Who cares, you know? And so you kind of have to step back and not feel guilt about it. So to have a ritual where you say, you know what, I overreacted, I'm sorry, now I'm going to move into the happy, and et cetera, et cetera. So you let the situation be what it is, you just got to move on from it. Otherwise, you're just going in that direction. Like the coach could have gone in that direction, where it's now he's feeling all the negativity from the public. He's stuck in there and just can't move. You can't move out of there. It's paralyzing when you stay in the negative. So it's just feel the moment. Allow yourself to have a little ritual where you might, I don't know what it is, tap dance, do whatever you want, scratch your neck, remind yourself, whoa, 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 you know, I'm not going to go there. Thank you. I'm not going to feel guilty about being happy, but I'm moving on in that direction. And that's a choice only you can make for yourself. I put this here because it sounded so clean and perfect. Nice little ritual. So allowing is kind of where I'm going to go. Is like you got to allow yourself to feel the emotion, and then say, you know what? I have no regret, and not carry guilt. What is guilt? Guilt is that side of the negative thing. You don't just make a decision for yourself to say, you know what, I'm going to pretend I'm happy, because that's just the thought. And we don't just want to have the thought about it. We want to touch the feeling about it. And the feeling has to be because of something that makes you happy for real, and not just the idea, like the skinny picture on the fridge, or the throwback Thursday so that you can show everybody else you used to be skinny. I see this all the time. I think it's hilarious. But if it has its attached with a good emotion, then good for you. So step number 4, find ways to express gratitude every day. So even in moments where the situation might not be pleasing, there's always, always, always an angle that is going to lead you into gratitude. Lose your job, you have more time. Lose your boyfriend, you have all this time to do the projects you want to do. There's countless. There's a diagnosis of some sort of help. I can spend more time with this person. It's not that it takes away from the actual situation that is negative, but you know that you're creating. So why would you allow yourself to go on the other side, which is not the good side? It is the same situation. You just choose to let your energy go into the side where there might be just one thing on the list that's good. Everything else is not good about it. I'm going to go with that one. And that one will create another one. And then another one. And soon enough, you'll be creating something that's a little bit easier to deal with on a daily basis. So finding ways to express gratitude is big. And I put this picture there because a lot of the times, you know, we'll see something and we'll say, oh, I'm so happy I'm not hurt. Or, oh, I'm so happy I don't have to do this. That's not real gratitude. Gratitude is not measured in a comparison to another. Gratitude comes from you and where you are, grounded into the appreciation of yourself, not about something that's comparable to someone else. I'm so happy that, you know, it's not my dad that passed away. Oh, I still have mine. I'm so happy that it doesn't create good emotion for you. It's competitive. So by seeing someone that might have nothing and still find ways to be happy and find gratitude, that's inspiring. But when I relate it back to me, I'm going to say, what am I grateful for in my life, in my circle, in my circumstance, and not make it about somebody else in a comparison. Appreciate it. Step number 5, focus only on, on positive emotions. I think I've talked a lot about that. There's always the element of the negative emotion that you might have to deal with in the situation that you're in. Allow yourself that moment, and then move on. Move on because you know, you are aware that you are creating. In every moment, just like every breath you're taking, there's something that you're creating for the future. So Jim Carrey is someone that, I don't know if you're aware, but he's full on, 100%, big on the law of attraction and how he created his own success. And so I wanted to show a clip here about the people that, in my view, we kind of admire. Remember, you know, we're in North America, you know, everybody that has a lot more money and that's famous. It's something that, you know, we say, oh, they're so lucky because. But they might have applied this better than we have. And it's not about the level of fame, but it's about the level of just happiness that created more and more and more and more. And then they're there and it's like, they're lucky because so and so and so, this is how it happened. Well, maybe not. It's about being able to create. They're in the same space as we are. They had to deal with the same situations, you know, or they had to deal with the same opportunities of creating in a positive way. Just, you know, some of us choose the other side and some of us choose this side. So I just want to know, when you see it from that perspective, I mean, obviously he was talking about money here, so sometimes we see it, you know, a little bit differently, but, you know, when you're creating and you're having all these thoughts about things, he might not even have known that it was actually the feeling side of things, that he actually believed that he would be able to get $10 million out of a job. It's just, he thought about it, he visualized it, and those are all key components to it. But if you don't attach the emotion, and then again, you don't have to be aware of all the steps, robotic steps. It's just that if you know that in the end, the real part of the creation is the emotion and the belief of it, then you're good. You're good. It takes practice, because a a lot of what we've been taught is limitation. There's limitation in everything. There's limitation in your career, there's limitation in where you can live, there's limitation in who you can date, there's limitations here. We've set these limitations for ourselves, or we've believed the ones that were introduced to us either by our family, our society, or we've created them. And they say a belief is just something that you keep thinking over and over and over and over and over and over again. None of us have necessarily the same beliefs, yet we all believe that they're real beliefs because they are yours. You can change them. You can change them. You just have to allow yourself the space to say, you know, I always thought that carbs weren't good for me. Because that's what everybody says. I don't get sick. I enjoy them. I think I can have them. Food is, there's a lot of resistance. I'll do a whole thing just about that, you know, in the months to come. But it's just, this goes to show that we've created so much resistance about everything. Just the news will tell us a story that experts say this. And then the next day, experts say this. Where do you sit in there? You're going to pick one, and you're going to believe it. But yet there's half of the population that believes this one and this one. So what is it about? You can have your own beliefs just for yourself. And when you see people like this that succeed, it's because they didn't listen to anybody else. Or they might have allowed it once in a while, but they were able to just, you know, let the curve go and then bring themselves back into that space that I call happy. And you know, happy, positive people seem to be getting a bad rap, like they don't care, you know. Once, you know, we were watching the news, and I'll say it, my husband says, I was getting ready to go to bed, and he goes, oh, did you know that this and that happened, and this person got murdered, and blah, 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 and I'm walking downstairs, and I'm thinking, I don't think I want to know about this, you know, before I go to bed at 11. And for a few seconds, he got frustrated at me, and he said, you're just living in this bubble. Positive things, you know, just and I thought to myself, and you're in this one, and so I'll pick this one. You can stay in that bubble of murder and war and crap money, this and that, and that. Hey, I don't judge, but I choose this one. And so good night. You know, who's going to be out there tomorrow? I don't know. I'm just saying. So even within your own family, if it's just a word of advice, sometimes that we tend to want to progress into our journey along with others. But it is such a personal thing. A lot of the changes that I've made in my life, and the way I think, and the way I feel, and the way I approach things, is not necessarily applicable to my husband, my sister, my dad, my mom. It is just for me. And if people are not there in my family, I don't judge them. It's not that there is better. It's just I measure myself to the level of happiness I have every day. And even in hard times, I'll find a way to be happy about it. Because there's always an angle. There is always an angle that is good about it, even when it's hard. And, you know, the example that you said, even in a moment of losing a member of your family, you just shift that energy into something that will find something. It makes you feel better. It makes you feel better. It should be good enough. You know, feeling better is much better than not. So try to find that, you know, when you deal with different things. So I put this out there. I put some on the chairs. I mean, it's just to give you a little bit of a tool to say every day I'm going to pick 3. I'm going to focus on that because that's how I feel when I woke up this morning. And none of them has anything negative, so don't even try it. It's not even there. So for me this morning, I decided I was going to be grateful, that I was going to be alert to listen. Like I said, we put together this event, but I'm alert. I want to serve the people that choose to come here. And like as I said, if there's 200 or 300, I want to be able to make sure that it is worth their time. I want to make sure that what we put together along with the group that's organizing this, that it is valuable for you. Like I said, not everybody can afford $300 of this and $200 of that, but you can spend $25 a month to come and self-reflect on a subject that will always be a little bit different and have a different flavor, but that will make you move ahead, you know, month to month. And animated. I was as animated as I could, you know. So develop a short inspirational description of yourself. I do that. I started when I was pregnant with my daughter. I had gone through, I don't mind sharing this story because I think some people can relate to it. I had gone through a horrible time trying to get pregnant. I lost the first child, and then another, and always aware of the power of all of this. But sometimes you lose your way, you know, but I was strong enough to know that if I stay in this state of desperation, am I ever going to have a child? It's incredible. Like when I was a kid, I knew I'd get married and have a child. Like, it was so hard to deal with. But I created, as they say, a vision board. I put it, my husband didn't even know about it. I put it behind my little night desk. And I would go to bed before, and I would look at it, all the steps of getting pregnant, what it looked like inside the body, and I was already saying, thank you so much, like I feel, and this is coming, like I'm so happy about this. I felt like I was so happy with this baby. And I did that for like 2-3 months, and I got pregnant again. So even in spite of what the doctor said, don't try to get pregnant, wait another year, I got 3 pregnancies within a few months, and I got my beautiful daughter that now challenges me, but she's fine. But I have this short description that I put together for myself, and it can be anything. It can be I'm happy, healthy, and powerful. And when you get into the moments where it's harder, you just say, whoa, 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 wait. I'm happy and I'm powerful. You don't have to believe it right away. It's like, and then whatever the time comes, and you say, you know what, I am. You know, I'm happy. Those weren't mine, by the way, but I'm just saying it's personal to you, and you can use whatever that is, and it's 2-3 words, so that it's easy to remember, and you can repeat it 1,000,000 times a day if you want to. While you're talking to someone, or someone's talking to you, you can say, I'm happy, powerful, and this and that. And then while you're just doing the subject, it keeps you in a happy place, and you're still, you know, attentive somewhat. So the I am is just making sure that this is applicable to you. I am happy, I am, all these things that you can put together for yourself. So step number 7, I said invest in your personal development. You know, January came around, and everybody was saying, we'll work out 3 times a day or a week, and we'll do this, and we put a lot of attention on our physical appearance. We want to do this, and we actually do it. You know, we'll go for a walk, we'll do this, and we're going to eat carbs, and we go through our whole thing. And yet we don't do any plans for our personal development. Maybe some do more than others. Obviously, I'm talking to a group here who cares to show up to, you know, so you're showing that you're, you know, putting that time for yourself, but make a commitment that you will find something. It doesn't have to be me. This is not about me, this is about you. I know all of this. I apply all of this in my life. I could be home, you know, playing with my children. I love doing this. I'm passionate about it, and I care. So I'll be here every month, regardless who shows up. And I'm going to teach, I'm going to try to have something put together that will be, you know, hopefully inspiring in some way. So find a way. If it's not here, find something else. Go to a workshop or whatever you want. I mean, there's a whole list of things that you could be doing that will nurture your mind, your, you know, self-development. These are all the steps. I tried to, you know, print them out if you guys wanted them. And so, as I said before, I'm a life coach, and I took a whole year to develop some kind of a concept, knowing all of this behind the scenes. And life coaches, as I've seen, are super important. They've introduced them with Weight Watchers. Now you can have your own one-on-one coach at Weight Watchers. American Idol also introduced that at one point for the candidates, you know, the people that were, you know, doing the American Idol contest. And so I know it exists out there, and it's a service that's available. But I was trying to find a way where, you know, you go see a coach, you might have 2-3 weeks in between sessions, you might see it only once or twice, whatever the situation is. But there's that gap that when you leave an office, it could even be a therapist, when you leave a therapist's office, or you just lose your way, right? Because life gets in the way, you're distracted, and then you come back to your session and you go, you know, yeah, I remember we talked about that. This happened, this happened, this happened. But so I thought, what can I do, knowing that emotions are important? In the end, emotions are important. That goal that you want doesn't have to be sophisticated. It can be, I want to be able to run a mile. All right, let's do that. That's the focus for you. So then you go through the process with them. But to create something that was visual, that could create an emotion, was super important to me. So what I did was, I merged photography with the coaching sessions, at least the first one. And then, you know, you can still have a conversation with the client, or only one, or sometimes the photo session is good enough, or a good, you know, moving forward for a little while. So by doing that, I tried to put together a concept that's personal. So when you have that goal that you want to reach, so we can make it personal to you. So I develop the concept and then I present it, and then the person says yes or no, and we make sure that it is your world that I'm creating and not trying to be artistic about certain things. You say yes, you say no, doesn't affect me, it's about you. And so I did that for about a year before I launched my business, and I have just a few photos to share with you. Obviously there's confidentiality that comes with the sessions that are put together, but the photos can be shared just in terms of kind of what it looks like in terms of results. So this sort of concludes the purpose of today's lecture, and I also have one little thing to show you after this, but I guess my commitment to whoever is willing to show up, and it could be different groups every week, it doesn't matter, you work with what applies to you, is that there'll be a continuing, like something that will be, we can live together, not week to week, but month to month. So I talked a lot about emotion this month, and what I want to do next month is really dig into those situations that might not be as pleasant, and how to transform that and then create a desire out of them. As we're trying to reach a goal, sometimes other things that are unrelated come through in your way, and you just don't know how to sweep them off or get them out because you're still trying to reach a specific goal. So it'll be a little bit more specific the next time around, but it is a continuation of what it is. And what I'll try to do is do a quick recap and then move into a direction so that it can be more, rooted. And then, as we progress, as we said, your feedback is super important, because what we want to do is improve the whole process here. And this was the first, so obviously there might have been little hiccups or things that we can, maybe improve, but that's what we want to know too. So if you're interested, this will be posted somewhere, and along the way you'll know it's always going to be here. And for those that are linked to the French community, we're going to start doing them in Gatineau as well. The next one is on February 28th. Location to be, defined, but it'll be sort of the same subject, just French, month to month. We're going to be moving in the same direction. I want people to move together and just, start making all these changes. So all that I've said today, I said, don't believe me, just watch. Watch your lives. Don't believe what I say. I know it to be true for me. And then you have to look at your own lives and say, you know what? No, it doesn't work for me. Actually, it's always working, but you might not want to be aware of it because it's not the right time for you to have that kind of awareness, or you might want to dig more and more. So don't believe me. Just watch your own life. So I thought I'd end it on an upbeat note. I did that on purpose to take a song that's playing a lot on the radio, so that some of the energy that you felt today and some of the things that you thought about today, it'll always get linked back to this little moment where you say, oh yeah, it was fun, and oh yeah, I remember this, and so that's why I did that. And I'm going to do that every session. There's always going to be a song. It's going to be uplifting, fun, and current. Maybe not in your style of music, I don't know. Everybody loves to dance music. That's good. So I'll let Roxanne finish this up for you. Thank you so much.